Open Your Eyes, new Netflix show developed in Poland based on an existing novel. It's a 6-episode mix of sci-fi, horror, mystery, and teenage drama, which initially seems very promising on all of those fronts, but at the end of the day I think ends up delivering only on the last one, the teenage drama part. The story opens with a teenage girl waking up in a room confused. She doesn't know where she is, who she is, how she got there. A voice from a speaker tells her that she's suffering from amnesia and she's at a facility which helps people like her regain their memories. She goes outside, meets the other people, the other teenagers that are there, the staff of the facility, and then through her own experiences, through conversations and through sessions with the psychologist, she begins recalling her past life. But clearly there is something afoot. Another girl at the facility has seemingly gone completely crazy and is warning people to run away. There are a couple of mysteriously looking devices at play which may or may not have sinister purposes. And Julia herself, which turns out to be the name of the main character, begins experiencing weird visions, hearing sounds, voices, and seeing people that shouldn't be there. So again, sounds kind of promising, but for me ended up being severely disappointing. Now, I want to say this outright. It's not strictly a terrible show, like objectively speaking. I think there are things in here that can be liked and enjoyed, but it's definitely geared towards a very specific audience, which is teenagers. I am not one, and I feel like that's at least part of the reason why I didn't connect with the show almost at all. It's entirely possible that someone else will enjoy it, and that's fine. But having said that, there are specific things as well that I think just don't work. And after giving it some more thought, I would narrow it down to 2 main things. The first one is the whole mystery aspect. I think that's very unfocused and all over the place. Like as the show goes on, there are all these different things happening, and you try to come up with different explanations to sort of have it all make sense. But none of those explanations can reasonably work because there's always something preventing each of them from making sense. For example, the simplest one, it's all going on in the head of the main character. That it's all made up, a dream or whatever, fantasy. There are some clues scattered throughout that this may be true, but then there are also things, specifically in the last episode, which directly contradict that it's not just a dreamed up reality. Other characters come into play. And then you try to come up with another solution. You think, oh, that also can be true because of this and that. It's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, and whenever you think you have the picture, there are always some pieces left, so that can't be it. And so it becomes kind of frustrating at one point until you're just waiting for the final episode to finally clear it all up for you and give you an explanation as to what's going on, so you can see if it even is possible for all of this to click together. And then the final episode doesn't do that. The mystery remains largely unsolved, and it's clear that there will be a second season. I felt that the ending especially was very unsatisfying because of this, because it wants you to continue watching in the future to find out all the answers. But on the other hand, I feel it doesn't really give me enough reason to really want to continue. And here we come to the second element, which doesn't work in my opinion, and it's the characterization. Sure, the characters are teenagers, so it's natural. They behave stupidly and irrationally at times. They can be annoying, yes. But it actually goes deeper, because I tried to think about how each of those people in the show is characterized, how each of them can be described as a person. And it all seems very paper thin. Like, the main character is nice to people, I guess, and caring, and she can play the piano, and that's pretty much it. Her love interest is this kind of rebellious guy, little bad boy, and again, that's it. That's his whole character. I couldn't tell you much more about any of the other characters. They're just simple cliches. And the same goes for the few adult characters that populate the show. Like, there's this one sinister doctor who from minute 1 is obviously a villain, and at the end of the show, all you can basically say about him is he's evil and he's also an asshole, and that's it. So when there's so little characterization across the board, it's difficult for me to care about any of the characters, because I don't really know any of them enough to hold on to something, to anything. Weak writing also extends to dialogue, which is at times really awful, and what's even worse, it's terribly delivered. Most of the actors are very stiff and artificial. It almost looks like they're reading off a teleprompter instead of speaking real words as the characters. And again, the most surprising thing for me was that the people most guilty of this are the adult actors. Like the psychologist lady is the standout for me. She's basically like a robot, you know, in the way she delivers her line. I have no idea what was going on there. And hey, I said there are some positives. I think that the production design is somewhat okay. I think the lead actress, Maria Wawreniuk, is doing the best possible job with the scripts she is given. She tries very hard to be the heart and soul of the show, and then she kind of succeeds. I like the score, even though Claire de Lune was so overused that I got tired of it by the third episode, even though I normally love the piece. And like the skeleton of the story seems fine enough to at least be interesting. Problems lie, as I said, in the execution. For me, the show was a disappointment, even more so because it didn't resolve anything by the end. And I'm really not interested in watching another season, which means I kind of wasted 5 hours of my life. So if you're really starved for a mystery show and you don't mind the teenage nature of it as well as the other flaws, you can check it out, sure. Although, you know, in the world of convoluted mystery shows, I would still rather just rewatch Lost again.